From them here coming up next.
We call it drive. The unrelenting desire to become the person you were born to be. Ignited by a moment. The realization that a future you could only dream of is within reach. At East Carolina University, you won't just imagine a path. You'll forge one through hard work and the success that comes without surrender. The journey that leads to your future. And this is where it begins.
Good luck, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Day one of American Basketball Media Days. We just heard from Commissioner Mike Oresco. Always great to have him here in the studio with us. East Carolina, the Pirates are going to get things going for us. The first of our schools that we'll hear from today, followed up then by Temple, Wichita State, Houston, and SMU. 5 schools. We'll hear from the other 6 tomorrow. And as we take a look at what happened last year in American women's basketball, a lot of parity, a lot of fun last year with UCF finishing at the top. Of course, they have a new head coach. South Florida there at number 2, Tulane, Temple, SMU, Toelle Wilson getting her team to finish there in the top 5. Houston, Memphis, Tulsa, Wichita State, East Carolina, and Cincinnati rounding out the final standings there and how things went down in the 2021-2022 season. But of course, it's a brand new season. Anything can happen. Even though these East Carolina women's Pirates were picked last year in the coaches poll, anything can happen. And head coach Kim McNeill certainly firing her team up, getting them going, ready for this season.
Taking charges, diving on the floor, closing up traps, walling up, rebounding. Take pride in rebounding. Take pride in taking charges. Take pride in walling up. Take pride in closing up traps. Take pride in breaking on balls. All right, our little things look different than other people's little things. Our little things help win games for us. We do that so that big things will happen. All right, we take care of the little things so that big things will happen. Let's go get it.
Taking care of the little things. That's Kim McNeill's message as they head into this season. Her 4th there for the Pirates. Last year, they finished 4-11 in the conference, and they ended up losing in the tournament in the first round to Memphis. But new year, new expectations for these East Carolina Pirates, and now we welcome in the 4th-year head coach, Kim McNeill. Coach, this is a team that is certainly known for gritty defense, tough. How have you seen that here from your 6 new players so far this season?
Yeah, good morning, Morgan. Thank you for having us this morning. You know, we've had some really good practices. You know, you mentioned we do have 6 new players, but when we recruit, we look for those gritty kids that want to come in and play defense. So I feel like they fit in. You know, they're bringing the energy every day, and they're trying to get after it and do what we do, and that's defend and play hard.
We're now going to toss things over to Chuck Sullivan with the American Athletic Conference, who's going to field some questions for the media. Chuck, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Morgan. And again, to members of the media, please use the raise hand feature in the Zoom to get into the queue. To ask a question, we'll start with Patrick Johnson, please, from the game in Greenville.
Hi, Coach. Good to see you again, and looking forward to the start of the season. You talked about those 6 newcomers, and one of them a top recruit right in your own backyard with Amaya Joyner. She has a lot of expectations of her. How has her preseason gone? And what are your expectations for her coming up in this season?
You know, obviously Amaya is a freshman, and freshmen have their woes. You know, but I'm really excited at what she's been able to do thus far. You know, this whole environment for her is new, and I think she's made an adjustment. I think her teammates have done a really good job helping her get through, helping her in practice, keeping her encouraged. You know, she's very hard on herself, sometimes harder than I am, and she can get in her head, but her teammates have really done a good job trying to keep her positive. You know, when she's locked in, she's dominant. I mean, from both aspects of the floor, being able to rebound and start to break for us, shooting the three, posting up, unbelievable passer, very unselfish. And so I think she's making everybody around her better and not only herself.
Okay, we'll take the next question from Stephen Igo, please. Hoist the colors, 24/7 Sports.
Coach, you guys had not only a number of talented freshmen, but also some transfers. How have you seen them acclimate, and how have you seen just the transfer portal change college basketball over the last number of years?
Yeah, you know, we have two transfers in Kimora and Micah. And obviously they've been at a very high level. You know, Kimora coming from a situation where she didn't get to play that much at Georgia. So this is almost like her freshman year. But she understands the pace. She understands how hard we need to go. So that transition for her has been pretty easy. You know, Micah, on the other hand, she averaged 18 or 19 minutes at Oklahoma State. So she understands and a little bit more comfortable being out there on the floor. You know, she's a point guard for us, and she's doing a good job at leading the team. You know, still staying on her about being a little bit more vocal and getting everybody in their spots. But those two have done a really good job and are fitting in really well. You know, the portal has changed things completely. You know, from every year, you just don't know what your team is going to look like. You don't know what other teams are going to look like. And so, you know, obviously we've been bitten by the portal, but we've also got some success from the portal. And it's just changed things completely. You know, for me, chemistry is really, really big. And when you're adding 6 or 7 new kids every single year and you're starting over from scratch, you know, it's hard to develop that chemistry. But I've been extremely lucky to have great young women, you know, that understand what we're trying to build at ECU. And regardless of what year it is, it'll always be about our culture, always be about our family, you know, and not just being successful on the court, but being successful off the court. And they understand that. So from that aspect, it makes my life a little bit easier.
Coach, we'll take the next question from Patrick Mason with the Daily Reflector in Greenville, please.
Hey, Coach, how's it going? I'm just kind of curious, you know, with some of these new players and just with the kind of unique style of basketball you guys do play, just very defensive oriented, how those former players have kind of helped bring along some of the younger kids into this program.
Yeah, you know, with Tiara Chambers, you know, starting, I guess, her 4th year under our system, 5th year at ECU, and Synia starting her, you know, 3rd year, and Alexia Rose and those guys with the experience that they have, they understand, they get it, they know our philosophy defensively. So you can see them at any point in practice, pulling the young kids over, you know, pointing out different things, encouraging them, telling them to stay with it, because sometimes it can get very frustrating when you're starting a new system. But they've done a really good job doing their leadership role with, you know, naming Synia captain, Tiara captain, and Danae captain this year. You know, they've just stood out amongst the leadership, you know, been here all summer, working really, really hard. So, you know, I'm really, really happy with what they've done from a leadership standpoint. But, you know, we have eager young kids that want to learn. They want to be involved. So I think that's made, you know, the captain's jobs easier. It's made my jobs easier, you know, because they want to be a part. They are completely bought in.
Okay, we'll go back to Patrick Johnson for a follow-up, please.
Yeah, Coach, just wanted to talk a little bit about scheduling. Obviously, with UConn leaving a few years ago, I know there was a premium put on, especially in the non-conference portion, scheduling a little differently. So as you put this schedule together, with all the things you've talked about, with you know, having to get this team ready, bunch of new faces to try to get them to be on the same page, just seems like there's a lot of things that maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago when you're putting together a non-conference schedule for a young team, you got to consider some different things now. So could you just go into a little bit of the game plan when putting together the schedule this year?
Yeah, you know, for us, fortunately, we're in a location where there's a lot of great schools around us. So every year, you know, we want to play some Power Fives, but we also want to set the schedule up for us to be successful, to build confidence, you know, in this team, to teach them how to win, you know, not only the young kids, but the returnees. And if you look at our schedule, we have our first 5 games at home. So the point of that is to come off to a good start, you know, build some confidence and continue to go from there. You know, we've had a lot of conversations with the players on how we built this schedule this year, and we've tried to build it for us to be successful. And once we start conference play, to give us some really good confidence.
Coach, thank you so much for the time. Really looking forward to seeing your team get things going here in just a few short weeks.
Thank you.
Brooke, Mark, when you listen to what she said, culture, all of those things, I mean, this is a team that lost to UCF by just 9 points last season. They rise to the occasion. They play teams tough. What's it going to take for them to really move the needle in the conference standings?
What I like and what I heard from Coach McNeill was that there's competitiveness, there's confidence, and there's focus on the little things, right? Taking charges, diving on the floor for loose balls. Those are the little things that will build chemistry, especially when you have a new team and new pieces. I mean, Mark, you know this, like the preseason is all about just trying to get all of that kind of bad apple and all those bad habits out of the way. When you got a new team like that, you have to come together and just give up your ego. And Coach McNeill has that. I think she has buy-in from her team. So, 4 wins in the AAC, that's not going to be the case this year for ECU. They're going to move up.
Yeah, I love the focus on family. We mentioned earlier in the show about Coach McNeill and her husband, Corey, being the associate head coach, and she is the head coach. And she's been described as a people's coach versus a player's coach. Brooke, you know her much better than I do. You've observed this program. What does that mean, being a people's coach?
It means being relatable. It means speaking to you as a human being, not you're a player that plays for me and I'm in a dictative role that I can tell you what to do, right? It's, hey, what can we do to get the best out of this situation? When you can relate, especially today's players with NIL deals, with social media, coaches have to find a way to really speak to the player that is today, not the player that was 20, 25 years ago. Coach McNeill does that.
And it's about setting that foundation as you move forward, and obviously that foundation has been set, and that's why I think East Carolina at number 11 right now is really an X-factor team, because they've got good players coming back. They've got coaches that have established that ground floor. Yeah. And to rebuild a program, you sort of have to blow it up first. You've got to set your foundation and then build on that. And I think that's what Coach McNeill is doing right now. And I sense a little different sense of confidence from her, that they're building those fundamentals, as you mentioned. I mean, let's get some skin on the floor. Let's take those charges. And that's where, at East Carolina, it's not an easy place to win for the men or the women in this league. This is one heck of a basketball league. And rebuilding this league, you got to be special. And this husband-wife team, I think, is really different, especially because think about it. If you came into my home, I have all sons, by the way, but if it was my daughter, which you're old enough to be my daughter, by the way, just like my twin sons, and Morgan, if they came to me and said, this is a husband and wife team, and here's the family atmosphere that we bring, man, I'd be all in. I'd be all in on that message.
Maya Joyner, really excited to also hear about the freshman, the potential that she really has this season. But a few of the more veteran players, we're going to hear from them here first. Synia Johnson and Tiara Chambers, great to be joined by both of them. We're going to send things on over to Chuck Sullivan with The American for some questions from the media.
Thanks, Morgan. And again, if you have questions for the student athletes, please use the raise hand feature in the Zoom, and we'll go to you in the order that they come in. We'll start first with Patrick Mason from the Daily Reflector, please, in Greenville.
Hey guys, how's it going? I guess this is kind of for both you guys, but for Synia, I know you kind of closed the season getting a bunch of steals, just doing some really good work defensively, and as you as well, Tiara, with just blocking the ball and I'm playing some good rebounding. I mean, how do you guys can take that defensive I guess skills into the next year, and how do you kind of show some new players how that's the way you guys play?
I'll start. So yeah, like you said, defense is like our #1 priority, especially with Coach Kim. In practices, that's what we're harping on a lot. I think Coach Kim had mentioned it. Being that I've been here for like 3 years now, I know what they're looking for, especially in our defenses and the things that we run in our presses, half-court defense. So for me, defense is something that I also take pride in a lot. So like you said last year, towards the end of the season, me coming in, trying to get those steals. I'm coming in with the same mindset this year, trying to do the same thing. And then in practices, just helping the younger ones or the new people coming in with the fact that I do know the defense a little bit more.
Yeah, defense is definitely a thing that we harp on in practice, and it's our identity. So yeah, that's definitely a thing that we want to do every day and really establish that to the younger players.
Okay, we'll go next to Patrick Johnson, the game in Greenville.
Yes, ladies, great to see you both. Could you maybe just talk about maybe some of the work you put in the offseason where you feel like that your games have maybe grown from last year to what you're anticipating this season?
Definitely for me, wanted to be more of a offensive point for the team this year. So definitely just working, shots around the rim, shot more, and just getting myself more in better shape for the games.
Yeah, for me, it was more getting my three more consistent. I know that being on the court, it's important and crucial that I'm able to hit the outside shot. So in the off season, being more consistent with that was definitely a focus. Also implementing my pull-up a lot more, working within the offense and getting that.
Okay, we'll go next to Stephen Igo, please. Hoist the colors. Greenville.
Yeah, we talked just recently with Coach about the newcomers into the program. Just curious for either of you, who among those newcomers has really stood out, and how have they acclimated to the program as a whole?
I think each and every one of them has stood out in their own way. Having 6 new players is a lot. From our freshmen, they've all came in and they're ready to work. So it's made the job a little bit easier in terms of trying to help them. I find myself many times throughout practices talking to them, trying to just encourage them, because as a freshman or even just a newcomer on a new team, learning a new offense, a whole new coach, it can be hard at times. So just trying to talk to them, but they've all adapted very well. So it's been kind of made our jobs a little bit easier in terms of helping them.
Yeah, I think their transition from high school to college was definitely very smooth for them. And it's just easy to talk to them because they really retain the information that you tell them and then go out and do it for you.
Okay, we'll take the next one from Christopher Heidel from Herb FM Radio.
Hi, this question is for Shoaiba. It's you, number 4. This is Chris Heidel from Herb FM Radio in Baltimore. You're from Maryland, so what's it like playing, coming from the state of Maryland to play at East Carolina?
I would say it definitely is a little different in terms of the environment to what I'm used to, but the transition for me hasn't been hard from Maryland to North Carolina. So, but I like it here a lot. The environment, the fans, just the culture here. In terms of it being like a college town, I feel like everyone is very supportive. So it's been easy.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go next to Patrick Mason again from Daily Reflector.
Tiara, this is the first time you've shot over 50% from the floor in your career. And I'm just kind of curious maybe what it took to get to that point, and if you still, if whatever worked, you think you can kind of keep that going for this year and, do anything more scoring wise.
Definitely just building confidence with the team and just getting extra workouts with the coach, really building that confidence up. And yeah, hopefully translate that, do the same thing this year, and hopefully that translates to the court.
Hey, Tiara and Synia, it's Brooke Weisbrod here and in the studio. I'm always curious about teams that love to play defense, because 99% of high school players do not want to learn really how to play defense at that college level. But you all seem to really enjoy it, thrive on it, want to take those charges. What is it about Coach McNeill, her system, or something that you do in practice that helps you get to that point where you really embrace that defensive mentality?
Yeah, so even during the recruiting process for me, I knew what kind of team this was. I knew how Coach Kim and the coaching staff was. They're full of energy. They're very passionate. And I think that's kind of what harps on the defense. Even in practices, she's coming at us. She's very energetic. And that's what she expects out of us. So every day we make an emphasis on just bringing energy. And that goes into the defense. Like you said, you have to want to. Getting steals for us, it gets us hype, and it's something that also gets us going. Being able to get out and transition from those steals is also something that else gets us going. So we know that that's important for us.
Yeah, I just feel when you have coaches bringing that energy about defense and practice, it just really builds you up. And once you go out, there and get it.
Synia, Tiara, thank you guys so much for joining us. Really looking forward to seeing you all tip off the season here very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When you listen to them talk about the energy that they bring on defense, one of the things that Kim McNeill had said last year, when they couldn't score on offense, sometimes it would affect their defense. How do they take that step this year and really put that in the back of their minds?
you got to play with an edge, and for teams that lead with defense, you can always, in my opinion, you can always create offense from defense, tips, deflections, steals, all of those hustle plays, right, to turn that momentum around. So when you're struggling offensively, take that charge, try to block a shot, do something to then create that momentum. And I just love to hear Synia talk about, I'm communicating with my teammates, the younger teammates, bringing them along. They're learning new systems. It takes talking, patience, and that edge. You got to play like you're on fire. And I challenge you, ECU, to lead the league in charges this year. That is your challenge.
Well, and that brings energy, and that does bring offense. So you get deflections. That leads to easy baskets. So when easy baskets come, then the basket gets big.
Yeah.
And that's the key for Coach McNeill. They've got a year under their belt to set the foundation, to play defense, to take the charges, to play hard. And a guy like Synia, who I really admire her energy and her ability to communicate. I mean, she gets it from her mother. Her mother was a state champion, high jumper and long jumper. I wonder who the best jumper is in that family, by the way. But that competition is a part of that family. And her ability to communicate and lead. And whenever you have a guard that can apply pressure out front, that's contagious for everybody else. You know that. You were a point guard. And everything is based on the point guard decision-making in the offensive end, but also defensively pressuring the basketball, getting some tips, getting some easy baskets. This team is picked 11th in this league, dead last. I'll be surprised if they finish there in the end.
We go from one defensive-minded head coach to another defensive-minded head coach there at East Carolina, head coach Michael Schwartz. In his first season, it's really a brand new era for East Carolina men's basketball. But take a look here at what they did last season. They finished 500 overall, 6-11 in the American, finishing there at 9th place, and ended up dropping a game there in the first round to Cincinnati. Played tough, but really, what's it going to take here in year one for Coach Schwartz? What's going to be his biggest challenge?
You know, what I like about Coach Schwartz is I like guys that decide to do something different. While everybody is looking at the transfer portal to build their roster, Coach Schwartz went in the exact opposite direction, where he actually went and looked at high school to build from the ground up and build, again, that foundation that he can build moving toward the future. That's very unusual in college basketball today, as everyone looks for a quick fix. There's no quick fix at East Carolina. Right. It's got to be done the right way, the long way. And that's exactly what Coach Schwartz is bringing to the table.
Yeah, he wants to build locally, find that North Carolina talent. And he's also getting a great transfer in Jaden Walker, who comes from Iowa State. He should be getting some more time. And then I want to see the defensive end, Brandon Johnson, a big guy, former defensive end football player. He's disruptive. I love to see football players turn into hoopers.
He comes from Tennessee under head coach Rick Barnes, and when you think Coach Barnes, you think player development, something that he's going to be doing there in East Carolina. And we now have the pleasure to welcome in the first-year head coach Michael Schwartz. Coach, when you take a look here, thanks so much for joining us. When you take a look here at your brand new team, what is it? How are you going to measure success in year one?
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I think the first thing is that since we got here in April is we're trying to just establish our standards and who we want to be as a program, and particularly on the defensive end. So right now, that is where we've measured our success this preseason, is what we've been able to accomplish execution-wise on defense.
Okay, we'll go to questions from the media now. We have a couple in the queue already. Again, use the raise hand feature in the Zoom to join the queue. And we'll start with Patrick Johnson, please, from 943 The Game in Greenville.
All right, great stuff. Thank you so much, Coach. Always great to see you. So far in the preseason, what has been the point of emphasis, maybe outside of defense? I know, I don't say it's going to be a challenge, but I know finding that emerging leading scorer too has been a point of emphasis. So how is that process going?
Well, I wouldn't worry as much about the scorer part, but the leading part is where the emphasis has been. Is we're trying to figure out who can provide leadership on this team. And I give a lot of credit to the guys that came back from last season and that were here at ECU prior to me arriving. So when I think about guys like R.J. Felton, Javon Small, Brandon Johnson, and even though Wynston Tabbs has not been fully cleared yet, he's provided great leadership. So right now, the biggest thing that we're looking for this preseason is to decide as a team who can provide some veteran leadership.
We'll go next to Stephen Igo, please, from Voice of the Colors, 24/7 Sports.
Coach, as you look to build this thing at East Carolina, how important is it to have that defensive mentality, or just that backbone to always hang your hat on, no matter what the status is of injured players or scoring going into a game. You always know if you play defense, you'll have that possibility of competing on any given day.
Yeah, Stephen, that's a big thing. Is that just something we can count on that we don't think is going to vary night to night? And I don't know if that means we'll be at our best defensively every night. I sure hope that's what we want to be, and that's the standard we're trying to set. But definitely from a defensive standpoint, that's what we want to be the backbone of our team and the foundation of our program.
We'll go next to John Titel, please. Hoops HD.
Good morning, Coach. I was going to ask about defense too until I noticed that your director of player personnel is one of 9 players ever to lead the NCAA in scoring for 2 straight years. So what does Reggie Williams bring to your team?
Well, Reggie's been awesome. We're so excited to have him here as a part of our staff. And obviously he had a great collegiate career and as well as an NBA career, and then overseas playing at a very high level. But more than anything, what Reggie does is he brings a great sense of credibility to our coaching staff. Our guys have seen him play in the NBA. They know what he did in college. And being able to communicate with the guys about what we're trying to accomplish, he has a very unique way and great way of doing it.
And a follow-up from Patrick Johnson, please.
Coach, it's a tough schedule, especially in the pre-conference portion of it. Some challenging environments you'll go to, but I think some things that fans can be excited about. So, what would you tell Pirate fans, about what you expect out of this sort of pre-conference schedule and the challenges that you'll face with it?
Well, the first thing I'd say is everybody knows, and obviously the preseason predictions and all that, and what we have seen from the media and other coaches in the league, we know we lack experience. That's not something that we are going to be in the upper tier in the country. We'll actually probably be one of the least experienced teams in terms of minutes returning, points, statistics, etc., in the country. So with that, the only way to get experience, Patrick, is to get experience. So you got to play. So the experience we get will provide more and more as the season goes. From a standpoint of the conference schedule, non-conference, we wanted a challenging non-conference schedule to prepare us for one of the absolute best basketball conferences in the country. So with that being said, we know that hopefully we're getting better in November, December, and we can be playing some of our best basketball as we get in the conference.
Take the next one from Patrick Mason, please, from the Daily Reflector.
Hey, Coach. With so much up in the air just in terms of minutes wise and maybe rotations and stuff, like how reliant have you been on competition, and how has kind of competition drove practices so far?
Well, I think when Jaden and Wynston get up here, you can ask them, but basically our whole practice is competition. Everything we do is competition, from whether it's conditioning, breakdown drills, or obviously 5-on-5 and playing up and down. So competition is everything. And I've said this before, that I don't think it matters if we're fortunate enough to have any success or build this program and get to where we want it to be or where we envision. Competition will always be a staple of what we do in practice every day. And it doesn't matter once we even have a rotation set or when a lineup is set. I think you're always competing, because that's what's going to keep you sharp.
We'll take a follow-up from Stephen Igo, please.
Coach, you kind of alluded to it earlier, but the preseason poll came out. You guys were picked 11th out of 11 teams. Do you look at that, use it as motivation, or is it something you just ignore at the end of the day?
I think a number 11 is number 1 twice, so it's probably a good thing. We look at it and we know, but in the end of the day, whether you are picked first or you're picked 11th or you're picked somewhere in the middle, you have to go out and do it. And obviously we will take it as a motivating factor, but if we don't have a chip on our shoulder anyways, it doesn't matter what expectations are. So we recognize it, and we've talked about it with our team, but in the end of the day, you have to go out there, and just like the team that will be picked first in our conference, they got to go out there and do it.
Coach Schwartz, I was so excited to talk to you. I just jumped in on everybody right there, but I appreciate you hanging in with me here, and also welcome to the American and welcome to East Carolina as well. You mentioned Wynston Tabbs earlier. What is his status, and what does he mean to your program in your first year of rebuilding?
Well, Winston's status is this. He is coming along great. He has worked really hard this summer, preseason, and he's getting close to being fully cleared for contact. He's not quite there yet, but he's on the court a lot, and he's just about crossed that threshold. In terms of what he means to us, here's what Wynston has done. He has provided great leadership and a great stability factor in terms of talking to our guys, because he's been through it. He's been through it at a high level at Boston College. He's experienced one season here, albeit with an injury, and didn't get on the court. But he understands the intensity and the mindset every day in practice. And he's done an excellent job with it as he gets himself healthy. And, you know, I know coaches and players alike can't wait for him to be back out there.
Hey, Coach Schwartz, Brooke Weisbrod here in the studio as well. Looking forward to seeing what the new captain for the Pirates brings to the table this year. I have a non-basketball question for you, if that's okay. I see that you went to Beverly Hills High School, and I'm curious, I think I know the answer to this, but who the most famous person that you went to high school with is?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know who the most famous is, to be honest. I haven't thought about it in such a long time. I think that a TV show gave it such a different reality of what it actually was. You said, Brooke, that you know who it is. Maybe you can tell me.
Well, I think she was in a class or two ahead of you, but wasn't it Angelina Jolie?
You know what? She was ahead of me. And you know what, Brooke? I wasn't one of those guys that had friendships or able to hang out with females like Angelina Jolie. So that wasn't really in my wheelhouse. So kind of my buds and my good people were on the basketball team with me. I kind of wish I was able to know her a little bit.
Yeah, I bet.
Coach, thank you for the time. Really appreciate you joining us, and welcome to the American.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
When I listened to Coach Schwartz, one of the things that really stood out was the competition, the level that he runs at practice. Practice like you play, right? What else really stood out in that conversation from a first-year head coach?
Well, first of all, Angelina Jolie is a has-been. All right, so Michael Schwartz is a now personality. So the most famous person at Beverly Hills High School right now is Michael Schwartz in East Carolina. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Well, as far as East Carolina goes, you know, I think he's doing it the Rick Barnes way, and the lessons that he's learned from Rick Barnes as an assistant coach at Texas and at Tennessee. And it's, again, now we also have to understand, that's why I asked about Tab, because it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and Joes. When you look at Houston and the depth of Houston, the depth of Temple, Tulane, and who they've got coming back, that's where you're trying to get to. And East Carolina, if they can add a key factor to that roster, he's been injured, he's coming back now. If he stays healthy, I mean, I saw the kid play at Boston College. That dude can play. And so that gives them a go-to guy. A guy like R.J. Felton comes back, averages 5 points a game, gives them stability in the backcourt. But right now, they need to get a little bit of a break here with Wynston Tabbs. If that happens, then East Carolina can defend their home court. Remember, it's hard to win there. I mean, I've done a bunch of games there over the years, and I've seen Cincinnati go down there. I've seen Memphis go down there. I've seen good teams go in to East Carolina and lose. But you got to have some Jimmies and Joes to do it. And right now, there aren't a lot of them on his roster, but that'll build as time comes along. But you need to have one break, and I think Wynston Tabbs is that one break that's crucial for them.
And you mentioned the Rick Barnes coaching tree. So we know this team's going to be in shape, right? If you come from that era, you have to be able to play in shape at a high level, intense, big-time defense, and just passionate, right? That's where the Jimmies and Joes, I think, comes in as well. That other guy could be Jaden Walker. And we talked about him. He's the transfer from Iowa State. He's shown up in big games at Kansas, Texas. He likes to show up when those lights are bright, and that's what you have to do to break into a conference like this. You want to compete with Houston. You want to compete with Memphis. You got to be that guy, and Jaden Walker could be him as well.
And with all those young players that he's added to the roster, you've got to have that leadership as well of guys that have been there, done that, and played in those big barns.
Yeah.
It's really impressive how he was able to re-recruit 5 of those guys who were there, but also what he did in the transfer portal. And now let's hear from 2 of those players at East Carolina. We've talked a lot about Wynston Tabbs and Jaden Walker. Hello, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're now going to send it on over to Chuck Sullivan with The American, who has some questions from the media.
All right, thanks, Morgan. And again, we'll go right to questions from members of the media. Please use the raise hand feature in the Zoom to join the queue. And we'll start with Stephen Igo, please, from Hoist the Colors.
Wynston, I just want to ask about your road back from your injuries, man. I know it's been a rough road, but what's it kind of been like to almost be back at the finish line of getting fully cleared and having to fight through so much rehab and everything?
It's been a struggle. I definitely taken like some time to just take in everything. The process has been long, some dark days, some good days. Really taking in the small wins helped me to stay patient. And now I'm on the other side of that, so I'm getting close to being cleared. I'm just ready to play.
Take the next one from Patrick Johnson, please, 94.3 The Game.
Guys, as you have gotten things started up here, respectively, in the preseason and with Coach Schwartz, what would you tell fans? And what can you tell us maybe about some of the things that you feel like Coach Schwartz has brought to the program, and that maybe some of the newcomers, much like yourselves in some cases, have brought to the program?
Definitely a family atmosphere. Team chemistry is great. We definitely, we'll be competing every game with whoever we play, and just taking it game by game.
Jaden, anything you could add to that? What Coach Schwartz has brought to the program?
Definitely bringing a defensive mentality every day, always competing, bringing leadership, and, just winning the day.
Okay, we'll take the next one from Patrick Mason, please, from the Daily Reflector.
Hey, Jaden, coming from, the Big 12 Iowa State program, I'm kind of curious if you see any similarities with how Coach Schwartz, runs practice and just kind of gets you guys ready for what should be a, interesting season.
Definitely the competitiveness. I don't really see a difference. The AAC is also another great conference in the country. Just attacking the day every day, bringing leadership, and I'm trying to bring as much experience as I can.
Back to Stephen Igo, please, for a follow-up.
Jaden, watching some of your highlights at Iowa State, you were a very defensive-oriented player at times. How have you transitioned to that side of the ball here at ECU? Is that something you really take pride in?
Oh, absolutely. That's something that I take a lot of pride in, trying to be the best defensive player on the floor. And then that's something Coach Schwartz emphasizes every day.
Christopher Heidel, please, Herb FM Radio.
Hey, this question's for Wynston. This is Chris Heidel from Herb FM Radio in Baltimore, Maryland. So you played some time in Boston College, and now you're here at East Carolina. What did you learn from playing in Boston College? I know the injuries didn't really help you out. And what did you in your time growing up in the DC area?
Growing up in the DMV, there's a lot of great hoopers. So it's very competitive, and even getting on AAU teams, and playing at Boston College, it really showed me how to play correct basketball. Our schedule and our record didn't really show how much we learned, but I think in the long run it'll help me a lot. So just bringing that experience to the team will just help a lot.
Take one more from Patrick Johnson, please.
Wynston, one of many people watching this sent in something to me here and wanted me to ask just kind of about your major and maybe some of your plans in the future, post-graduation down the road and all that.
Right now I'm a communication major, planning to graduate and get my cybersecurity certificate.
Oh, wow. That's pretty amazing.
Wynston, Jaden, thank you both so much for your time. Really looking forward to seeing you guys get things going on November 8th against Mercer.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.